Hello, lions and lionesses. I'm Ellie from the Nourishment Redacted channel, and welcome to our show, Lioness Lifestyle Live. We love to interview different meat-based women and showcase their healing story through a keto or a carnivore diet. We all come from different backgrounds, ages, and even different healing journeys, but come together under the powerful healing of a meat-based diet. I am a wife and a mother of two young ones. I've previously been keto and carnivore, and I used to be 240 pounds, and I've lost 70 of those pounds. And I suffered from a deep, dark depression, panic attacks, and now I'm medication free. And I feel so much more happier, and I feel like I'm alive with a purpose.
I'm hearing an echo. I'm sorry about that. I don't know if you guys are, but so that threw me a little bit. Sorry about that. But I am Cristie from Meeting Wellness. And we all come from different backgrounds and ages and different healing journeys, like Ellie was saying. But I'm a teacher from Southern California, a wife and a mother of two teenagers. I've been carnivore for just over a year. And I've seen a reduction in my anxiety, joint pain, and disordered eating patterns, and an incredible increase in my energy.
And I'm Adrian. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I've tried everything from being on The Biggest Loser to running half marathons and restricting to gastric bypass to low carb. Then I found the most success on carnivore, and now my most success is carnivore coupled with optimization of our hormones, our thyroid, and our insulin resistance. So I'm so excited about our guest tonight. We are a channel that we lift each other up through our stories, our experience, our hope, and our challenges, and we just come together and tell that. If you have any questions for our amazing guest tonight, please put QQQ or question in front of it, and we will be sure to get it to her.
And before we bring her on, it is time for us to do something that we like to call the Roar of the Week. This week's Roar of the Week comes from our friend Charlie, aka Darth Carnivore, and he says, "Thanks, ladies, for having Karen Miles on the show. What a blast of inspiration, positivity, and uplift for a Wednesday morning replay. We love all of you on the replay crew. If you would like to be next week's Roar of the Week, drop us a comment down below when the show is over. I will hunt through those and we'll find one to shout out for next week's show."
Okay, without any further ado, let's please give a big welcome to our guest this week, who is Courtney Luna.
Hi. What a cool little intro. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for coming back. I can't believe, I think it's been almost a year since we've had you on the show, so I'm sure there's tons of updates. Could you please give a brief little summary of who you are for those who don't know you? And we can't wait to hear from you.
Yeah, so I'm Courtney Luna, a 2.5-year carnivore. I'm down about 55 pounds. I have improved my mental health. I think that's like one of the biggest things, and I wasn't expecting it. So I was able to go off of my medication, Zoloft, for anxiety and depression. What else? Cleared my acne, and is that it? I feel like I usually rattle off a few more things, but yeah, that's just what comes to mind right now. And yeah, I just feel good. I mean, this is the longest I've been able to stick to something and keep it sustainable. I was always, a yo-yo dieter. I've tried all the things, and yeah, this is how I feel my best.
Well, that's awesome. I think the last time we spoke to you on the show, of course, we saw each other in Austin, Texas, which was super amazing and just really cool to meet you in person. Even though in real life, we had to go all the way to Texas to meet Courtney. You literally live like an hour and a half that way. But it was super nice to meet you in person there. But yeah, last time it was pre-cookbook. And now I think it's now post cookbook. So I would like to talk to you a little bit about that journey of creating this awesome cookbook. I don't have my copy yet. I need to get on that. I think Adrian has one, but I've been watching you make recipes from the cookbook, and I've been very excited to even try a couple out. So can you just share with us, like, how did that whole process get started? What was it like writing a cookbook? And now that it's out, are you glad that process is over?
Yeah. Yeah, when I was on last, did I even like have the cookbook deal yet? Like, was I working on it yet? I don't even remember.
You were all stressed out because you had like not very much time and you had to come up with so many recipes. You're like, I have like 2 months and I have to come up with 40 recipes. I don't know if those numbers are exact, but yeah, you were like a little bit nervous about the time crunch that you were under.
Yeah, so I had so they found me on TikTok, actually, my publishing company. And they allowed me to do the timeline, and I'm like, well, we need to get this out sooner than later. Like, it would have been nice to like take a year or two, but like I'm like, we got to jump on this. So I took 6 months to come up with, there is 76 recipes in there. And then we went back and forth with editing for about probably like 6 months. And then then just went to print. And the journey of it, it was brutal. There was a lot of tears. And I remember, like, while I was going through the work, I'm like, I will never do this again. I'm going to be a one-hit wonder. Like, this is it. This is my one book, and then I'll be done. And they actually asked me probably a month ago, if I'm ready to start book 2. And for a week, I said, yes. We had a meeting. I said, yes, let's do it. And then during that week, I remember just how gnarly it was. It's kind of like childbirth and labor, like, or even like pregnancy, where you have your baby and you're looking at the baby and you're like, oh, so beautiful. And then you forget like how miserable you were during the pregnancy and how hard all that was. And you're like, yeah, like, it gets a little older and you're like, let's have a second one. Like, it tricks you, So that was me with the book. I'm like, yes, let's do another one. But I really like reflected like on how crazy the process was and just how much work it took and how it took me away from my family, which, I mean, that's fine. Like, I can work, that's okay. But I'm not one to handle stress very well. So it wasn't so much the workload, but it was like how I handled it all. And I was just insane, and it affected my family. So yeah, we're a one and done, at least for now. I'll never say no for sure. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. I put everything I had into it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And everyone else seems to be, enjoying it too. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to have out there.
I have no idea how you do it. I don't know how you do social media, writing a cookbook, being a stay-at-home mom, homeschooling your kids. Like, is there something else you're doing we don't know about? Because, oh my gosh, is there 3 of you? Is there twins?
Well, no, everything is just done half-ass. Like, I am not thriving at all these, like homeschool. I mean, my husband might be watching this, so I don't want to admit like how much I'm, not amazing at that and how we slack a little bit. My house, like, I'm looking around, I'm in my room right now. It's a complete disaster. And, like, just, yeah, I'm not doing everything amazingly. I'm just doing, I got my hands in a lot of things and they're not done well.
Well, I love your cookbook. I got a copy, and I got copies for all my friends. And I saw yesterday that it had posted at the lowest price ever. So it's a great time for everybody to get it for Christmas for everyone. I gave it to my kids, and they love the index. The index is all pictures. So instead of having to just kind of look at some names, they were like, oh my gosh, look at that pizza. Make me that. So my kids love your cookbook. I definitely suggest people get it. If you ever did one again, would you ever self-publish? Because somebody told me to write a book, but they said, do it yourself. And I'm like, I don't even know where to start. No way.
You know what? I would probably, I don't know. I'm torn. I actually talked to Maria Emmerich at KetoCon, and she's like, once you get your first one out and you work with the publisher, and then you get your like name out there and people know you're doing recipes, she's like, just self-publish the next one or whatever. But you know what? I don't know if I would. I liked having the deadlines, someone on me. Otherwise, I would just like procrastinate. It would probably never get done. I would have to, hire an editor at least to help me. Whereas with the publishing company, it comes with all that. You have the design team, you have the PR lady. So it makes it really easy having that whole team, but they take like almost all the money from you. You're making like very small amount. So if you did it on your own, like, you would get more of the profit. So, I mean, financially, it would probably be better to do it on my own, but I'd want to have the full team. And not that money doesn't matter, but like I didn't do this for the money. It was a passion project and the money is just like an added bonus, So bucket list item for sure.
I want to pop this comment up from Michael. So it's good to know that she is like the rest of us. And I think that with social media, it can be so not deceiving in a way, but it can just seem like everything is perfect. There's a filter when all of us, we all are trying to do this thing. And I just want to say that it's really important to remember that we are all human. And even though you're like kind of, I don't want you to put yourself down, because we really admire your work and it really does make a big difference. Like I remember finding one of your, I don't do TikTok. So I saw you on YouTube Shorts, and it was for your carnivore waffle recipe. And that made me feel like, hey, this could be, even though I found that carnivore was sustainable, it made it even more sustainable. It made it more friendly and user friendly. And so I always appreciate that. And I have the cookbook as well, and I've been using it with my family. And so I think it's so awesome. I love how simple everything is, because I've found myself not really wanting to buy cookbooks in the past, because I found that it was always so many ingredients and so many steps and everything like that. So I find that it's streamlined but absolutely delicious. And so my question for you is, because kind of on the ties of being a content creator, what is like your day look like with juggling all these things and editing the video, and then because you're, like you said, you have your hand in everything. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, it's very chaotic, to be honest. I try and get some work done like at the gym. So I take my kids to the gym and they get to do their own classes, and I do work out. But I try and do some editing there. And when I'm filming, like a lot of it is voiceover. So the kids don't have to be quiet. But oh my gosh, I was just telling my mom, I'm like, isn't this so lovely? I sit down to edit my video and I get to hear my kids whining and complaining like all over again while I edit it out. So yeah, I'm always just trying to find like a pocket of time to get things done. And luckily I have my mom's help like a lot. She lives like 20 minutes away, and that lady is over here pretty much every day, and not like all day long, but I get a few, chunks of hours of the day to have her help me out. And yeah, I mean, and then a lot of like when they go to bed. So like later tonight, once it's bedtime, I'll be working on some things. I'm getting an email ready right now to send out for Friday. Like there's a lot going on and I'm easily overwhelmed. So I don't have any good like organizational tips because I don't use them. So if anyone has them, let me know. But yeah, I'm just, doing the best I can. And it's just, like I said in the beginning, it's just a little chaotic, to be honest.
Well, I'd like to hear more about your workout routine, but also I think you were doing, last I saw you, you were doing more of like a high fat kind of experiment with your diet. Are you still doing that? Why did you do that? How's that going? And then how are your workouts going?
So I did switch to high fat, and then I switched to like, oh, I didn't switch, but it just ended up being high everything. Like I was just, emotionally eating, and I was trying to take a break from tracking macros, and I kind of just like went off the rails, to be honest. So I reeled it back in as best I could. Just like a couple days ago, I even did some meal prep because I truly want to give the higher fat carnivore a try, but I need to like make sure my protein isn't high too, because that's defeating the purpose. So my intention with that, like why I went to that, is I was still having some like glucose issues. My A1C, I wouldn't say is horrible. It's 5.5, but I feel like it should probably be a little bit better. My thyroid was like a tad low and my leptin was a tad high. So I was just trying to like get that all sorted out. So I don't know if that's working. I also I worked with a coach and I had a whole bunch of supplements to go on to help fix all that. I lasted a couple weeks before it just made me nauseous. So that brings me to like where I am today after Adrian. I mean, this is all Adrian's fault, putting this bug in my ear. So I've actually started today. How do you say it? Berberine. So I'm going to be playing around with that to help my glucose. And as far as working out, I'm lifting. I've started to kind of do some cardio. Not much, but that is my intention to do so. And then I walk when I can. And yeah, so that's where I'm at right now.
You're such a good question, everything person. I'm wondering if you've looked into, do you think we're really going to get some changes with the next administration with the food? And what changes would you want to see?
I hope so. I mean, it's funny. I saw Baker post something. He's like, you guys are so, I forget how it was worded. I'm going to butcher it, but like, you guys are so worried about getting dyes out of foods, but you should, or out of the cereal, but you shouldn't be eating the cereal anyway. So, yes, I think it would be nice for those that are eating standard American foods to not have those dyes and stuff in there, or we can just refrain from those processed foods in general. So, I have high hopes. I don't know. We just have to hope for the best. But I think it all comes down to, making these decisions on our own and taking responsibility for our own foods. Like we can not eat those things. So yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, the way I see it is that whatever you put your money in, they're going to become more powerful. Like these corporations are going to be able to have more influence. And so if you don't give them your money, they're not going to be, and obviously it takes many people to make that choice. So I think just the idea of eating cleaner, whole food diet, and obviously we would want more people to eat more meat, but it's like just that message in general, I think that makes a big difference, because some people are just like in this perpetual cycle of like eating fast food all day and then, eating box foods. And I hope that the mainstream idea becomes more, I hope that message becomes more mainstream, so it's not so isolating and you're not like, oh, I'm going on a weird fad diet, because a lot of people think keto and carnivore are fad diets, when in fact it's actually the opposite. I would say eating a highly processed food diet is kind of more like a fad. Oh, we have a question here. Let me pop this up. Does Courtney use a CGM or check her blood sugar regularly?
I was just talking about that this morning, actually, thinking of getting one. So I have never used one. I do have Keto Mojo. So I check, most mornings, and then once in a while, a few hours after eating, I'll, test something just out of curiosity. But yeah, I feel like that would be super helpful for me. But also, like, part of me doesn't want to know, because I feel like it's just constantly not going to be great. Unless when I'm on the sardine diet, like for some reason that really lowers my glucose and ups my ketones. But like standard carnivore, I'm barely in ketosis and my glucose is on the higher end. So that's why I'm doing this higher fat. I just need to actually like reel it in and stick to the macros, because being high fat and high protein is defeating the purpose. So yeah.
Yeah, I wonder about that myself with the high amount of protein. And I feel like if I got a CGM, I know my fasting glucose, once it was like over, and then last time I had it checked, it was just under. But I also get really nervous when they're going to take my blood. Like I used to pass out every time. And so I guess if you get really nervous, that can make it go up. I've often been curious to see if I wore a CGM, what that would show, when I eat my giant ribeye, if all that, protein is causing too much glucose to be produced in my body. It would be, I think I would wear one too, just out of curiosity, but I haven't done it myself. I want to go back a little bit to the changes you were talking about. I wonder about like the education for people. So I had, for those of you that don't know me or don't remember, I'm a teacher. And so I sit in a lot of meetings with a lot of parents. And so I had a parent talking about how she felt like she was improving her child's diet so much because she stopped letting him eat the school breakfast. And because she saw that what they were feeding them at school was like a bunch of muffins. And so she felt like, she really wanted to, improve her child's health by improving his diet. And so no more school breakfast. I'm thinking in my head, I'm predicting, right? She's going to tell me now he's eating an egg or something for breakfast. No, she's like, so now he eats his cereal at home. And in her mind, him eating a bowl of cereal at home was so much better than the muffin. And I just thought, just don't say anything, Cristie. This is like more education than what she's ready for, what you should be doing. You're not a nutritionist. Keep your mouth shut. I did put a plug for eggs, but I didn't. Yeah, right, Cristie? Thank you. I love your name, by the way. Cristie's like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, what? And so I think, gosh, I agree with Dr. Baker, like, don't eat the cereal, but I also think there's going to be people that don't understand that. And that is such a big shift. I am now teaching, they're 2 and 3 generations in now, to eating these processed foods, and they just think it's normal. And that's what the school is feeding the kids. And nobody seems to understand. I had another parent the other day, last week, tell me, oh yeah, we put our child on a diet because they are pre-diabetic. The doctor is saying that they're pre-diabetic. I teach 5th grade, so keep in mind they're 10 and 11 years old. And so we took out all of the sugar, and I said, oh, well, what else? Like, what are some good things if, for snacks and things that I can offer her, like a cheese? I'm making suggestions, right? And he says, how about goldfish crackers? And so I really just think, and these are just 2 stories that happened to me fairly recently, right? And so I'm wondering about the education that it's going to take for people to understand that these processed foods are so terrible. So at least in the meantime, if we can improve the whatever ingredients are going in, I think that's at least going to be beneficial. It's got to be, right, to some extent. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that, or if you have any, because you have young kids. My kids are older, but since I'm a teacher, I still see these things.
Yeah, we have a lot of work to do. A lot of work. So yeah, if they can take dyes out of cereal and take the seed oils out and switch it back to tallow for McDonald's fries, and that's definitely going to be a better option. But yeah, we need to teach people proper nutrition. And I say this out of love because I used to give my kids goldfish crackers. They used to have like puffs when they were a baby, like a lot of, crap food. I didn't know any better. We tried to be healthy. Like I was probably, coming from a keto paleo background, like we were still aware of nutrition, but yeah, even what we were doing wasn't ideal. So yeah, I don't know how to reach these people, honestly. I see the soccer snacks that we get, and I'm just like, dang, like, this isn't just like, I would assume isn't a one-time treat on the weekend. Like this is probably their normal food. It's like, okay, yes, fruit snacks, but there are fruit snacks that don't have added sugar. So just get the regular ones. You don't need to have high fructose corn syrup in fruit snacks. And I'm sorry, 3-year-olds playing soccer don't need a Gatorade after, like I was just appalled by some of the snacks that my kids get. Like my 3-year-old, she cuddled with me half of her soccer game. She doesn't need electrolytes after, And it's just lots of chips and there's never been one thing in the snack bag where I'm like, oh, this is great. Like maybe someone will throw in an orange and that's wonderful. And then, it's like my turn to be snack lady and they're probably appalled and not excited because I'm like cheese stick, meat stick, and a piece of fruit. So yeah, we have a long ways to go. And I think just, continuing to share our journey and what we're doing, plant some seeds and maybe some people will get curious, but I think some people just don't care because I have a lot of friends that see what I'm doing. So they're very aware of, other ways of eating and not having the sugar and the dyes, and they still give their kids that stuff. I think it's almost like survivor's bias. Like, oh, I ate this stuff when I was a kid and I'm fine. Or they just don't realize how damaging this processed food can be, and yeah, it's sad. I feel bad for the kids. So I think we just keep sharing and, the ones that are willing to hear, they'll hear and hopefully make some changes.
Well, first I want to say I'm really sorry. My computer's having issues and so it's flashing. So I'll go back to my phone after I ask you a question because it's really distracting. But first I want to ask you, as we go through carnivore, it's so funny because you watch other people come in and they go through like the same exact cycle. You come in and you're like, I'm on top of the world. I've got the answer. And I don't know about you, but I ran around going, you need to be carnivore. You need to be carnivore. You need to be carnivore. Woo, 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 and things have kind of changed. We calmed down. But one of my early
my early ideas was I had to cut sweet. And I honestly, this is something that has like mentally tortured me the entire time because I love the flavor of sweet. And every time I would go on vacation, I would just add a little sweetener to my coffee. Then I would come home and I would guilt and shame and have so much trouble getting that sweet back out. And I finally decided to just leave it in. I'm wondering how that's going for you.
Yeah, no, I need to refrain. It's a slippery slope. Last week, what is it? Power Puck had their new like honey bar, and it's hard for me to moderate myself around those things. And they were very delicious, and I ate probably like 8 of them in like 3 or 4 days, which isn't too bad. At least I didn't eat them all the same day. But for me, I need to abstain. So like hearing the abstainer versus moderator thing was life changing for me because I can't moderate those things. I think my husband, he's carnivore, but he can go off plan here and there and doesn't give it another thought. He is not food obsessed like I am. And yes, carnivore has helped my, food issues and my food obsessions a lot, but it's still definitely not perfect. I still, struggle with that. So yeah, I can tolerate, I think having like Equip's flavored protein with stevia, like that's fine for me. I can moderate that stuff, but actual like sweeteners or even just fruit, like I can't do it. I want more. And then it just kicks off cravings for the rest of the day and it's hard to get back at it.
No, excuse me. I completely understand that. I did the whole strict carnivore thing for about a year and a half. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to try low carb for a while. And then I just started feeling horrible. And I felt like that low carb started becoming more higher carb and higher carb. So I cut it off pretty quickly. It only was like about a month and a half, 2 months. So it wasn't so bad. But now I'm doing more like keto. And I feel like because I had the experience with doing carnivore, I feel like I'm finally becoming a moderator, which is like, it's a lot of weight off my shoulders, honestly, because I was an emotional eater. And just like with, how life is sometimes, it can be so difficult to not only just deal with things that are happening in your life, but then also to say goodbye to all the old crutches and just to not be able to do the things you used to do to get by, because I think that's what we're just trying to do every day is just to survive. And, and that's just like how, the parents who are feeding their kids the boxed processed foods, they're probably also in that same mentality because we've all been there. We all have kids. And it's like sometimes you just want to get through a day. And so I just want to give some encouragement to anybody that if you're not there yet, you're not able to moderate yet, I think that's totally fine. I think we all have to kind of do this at our own pace. And like if someone put a bowl of pasta in front of me, I would not be able to moderate. But if I had a couple of like apple slices or something, I think I'd be okay. Like I'm not going to crave for the rest of the day. So it just all depends on that. Courtney, I've always appreciated how honest and authentic you are. And it seems like you are not afraid to just be yourself. I love how you show like the bloopers, what would be considered bloopers. Like you spill something on your shirt and you're just like, okay, we're just going to roll with it. And I love that about you. Where did you find this confidence? Did it come from like losing the weight and eating better? Or were you always kind of like the spunky chick?
That's a good question because I don't know. I'm an introvert too. So like being on camera is kind of like weird, I guess, when you really think of it. But in a way, like I guess it's just me and my phone or my camera. Like public speaking, oh my gosh, I would like, you guys saw me before like my thing at KetoCon. I was like a nervous wreck. But yeah, something about just it being on the camera, like, yeah, it's just no big deal, I guess. I probably had to take some time to get used to it, but I've been showing up online for a while now. So even before I was carnivore, I was sharing my low carb and keto stuff. So I guess I'm kind of just used to it that way.
Well, I love your spunk. And yes, you were a nervous wreck at Hack Your Health KetoCon, but you did such a great job cooking. I had my DEXA scan, so I will never forget the fact that I watched you cook and it like looked so good and I didn't get to try any because I had to go get my DEXA scan. I was like, didn't get any of the samples, but you did a great job. I wanted
Thank
to
you.
go back to something you said about leptin, because I've just started kind of digging into leptin and leptin resistance and ways to work on that. And you said something about you had your leptin tested. So can you tell us a little bit about leptin? I just heard today on a video I was watching about like what the ideal range is for leptin and some ways to fix that if your leptin is high. Have you dug into very much of that yourself?
A little bit. So I don't even remember because it's been a couple months since I got my labs done. So I haven't looked at it. So I don't remember like what they want the range to be. I feel like it. Do you know, Adrian? Okay. So mine's 14, which isn't awful. It's not like horribly high. I feel like maybe like 10, 12, or maybe 6. I don't know. Something like that. So I don't know much about it. I know it's like, one of your hormones and it can have to do with like your appetite and stuff. So what I've also changed to help that is, so Sarah Kleiner Wellness is her handle. She talks a lot about this. And so like waking up in the morning, getting your morning light in your eyes, getting some grounding and having breakfast. So that's supposed to help. I don't know if it's helping yet. I haven't like done the labs again, so I'd be curious. So yeah, I don't know much about it. I'm still also like diving into it, but I feel like it's kind of like, the hot topic right now that everyone's, talking about and something, to look into for sure.
Yeah, I went and looked on Own Your Labs today, and it was like $60 to have your leptin checked. And you're right, it's somewhere between like 6 and 10 or something, somewhere around there that they were saying is ideal. But yeah, it has to do with all that stuff that I know I should be doing. And even though I have this week off, I haven't been the best about getting out there in the morning. I did go out and do some grounding today. But yeah, now that I know it's attached to my leptin, that might be the motivation. I need to get out there and do that every day.
Yeah, and I think having like the blue light blockers on, oh, sorry, Adrian, like the blockers on at night and just, all like the circadian rhythm stuff you can do. Yeah, I should probably go. Mine are just sitting over there. Because I can even tell like when I stare at the screen, like my eyes want to like blink a lot more. So yeah, everything you can do, like you just think about like how we used to live before we had light bulbs and computers, So yeah, trying to do all that. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Adrian?
I don't remember. Wasn't
About
important.
I think we were saying like the morning light and stuff. Was it about that? Grounding.
Did you have your hormones, thyroid, and cholesterol checked? And how are those numbers doing now? What did you say? 2.5 years into carnivore? Are you gonna
Yeah.
die
So,
soon?
I mean, knock on wood. I hope not. Oh, that's not wood. Yeah, my cholesterol, I'm trying to think what it was. I want to say maybe like 290 total or something. I don't remember the other numbers, but I know my triglycerides are great. I want to say like around 80. I don't remember the other numbers. And I never got the thyroid tested before. So that's kind of a bummer because since it is slightly low, I'm like, okay, did it used to be really bad or did it get bad from carnivore? I like, second guess myself. But everyone says that to help your thyroid, you should be eating low carb, keto, carnivore. So I'm hoping it used to be a lot worse and it's improved. But yeah, it's a bummer that I don't have that data.
Did they run your antibodies?
I don't know.
Because that's a good one.
I think
And then
so.
T3. T3 is a good one too. I'd love to know your T3
I have
numbers.
that. I'll send you my labs when we're done.
Yeah. I love labs. Who does? I love data. And are you
Yeah.
tracking? Do you track what you eat or you're off on that right now? You're taking a break. Do you, do you track what you eat?
I was taking a break. Oh, sorry, it was cutting out. I did for a while and then I took a break and then I did again and I just took a break for maybe 3 weeks and I just went off the rails. So I need to reel it back in. I can't trust my hunger cues right now. Even, 2.5 years in, I think I'm still wonky. And I have that, like my friend Sarah says, like insulin hunger. And I think because my leptin's wonky, I have all these things like working against me where it's hard to just eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full. But I will say, if I'm keeping it simple, like I'm not going to overeat eggs. Like I've got like a 3 egg limit before I'm grossed out. So, and even just like steak, like if you're full, like even if it's an amazing looking steak, you're not going to eat it if you're full. So where I find that becomes like a slippery slope for me is having like pork rind cereal, because it's definitely a 2 bowl event. It's never one. So that's a lot of milk and cream. You know, that's a lot going on, more than like my body needs. And just any of like the honey bars. Like I'm really realizing that I need to just, you know, stay away from all that and keep it very simple. I can moderate cheese. As much as I love cheese, I can moderate it, but heavy cream, I'm not, guys, I probably had like 2 cups today. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, maybe we'll like fat fast. And then it's like slowly, well, I'm hungry. So now I'm gonna have burger. So now my fat and my protein is high today. So yeah, I need to reel it back in. I'm honestly struggling lately. So I'm trying to figure that out. And hopefully the berberine is going to be like my magic ticket, or maybe it's not going to do anything, but I'm hoping that will help with my glucose and also just help with the hunger a little bit, so I can just stick to actually eating what I need and not in excess, and then allow my body, because I feel like my body's holding on to things. Even if I mean, you know, even if I'm tracking, doing all the things, like I'm still unable to get rid of this last like 10 to 15 pounds, because something is going on in my body where it's not allowing it to be released. So I'm trying to figure that out. And I have been for the last few months, and I haven't figured it out yet.
I don't want to take cuts, but I'm just wondering, after your recent video, if you got as many messages as I have of the people saying, thank you, Adrian, for saying something. And they're like, I've been on this for so long and I've been coupling it with carnivore and it's been amazing. I don't know. I don't know if you got those messages or if you
Yes.
just got all the messages that said, no, you're going to die. Don't do it.
No, I've been a lot of positive, especially on my YouTube, my latest vlog. I talked about it, and a lot of people have chimed in with their experience. There's a lot of carnivores on the GLP-1, and I was surprised. And some like influencers that will come out and talk about it soon too. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I think people have been very supportive, like about you know, because I'm not on it, just to like clarify. But I think the verbiage, having it be called a peptide, I think is taking away the stigma than when it's like, oh, Ozempic, the weight loss drug. It's like, no, it's a little bit more than that. So yeah, I'm glad you've opened up that conversation for sure.
Yeah, it's not they make it sound like this is an appetite suppressing drug. When that sounds horrible. To me, that sounds like all of the horrible things we've been given. Did anybody else try Ally, ALLIE, where it grabbed onto your fat and then you pooped out your fat? And there's been so many horrible weight loss drugs. And this is actually more of a supplement. But anyway, thanks for chatting with us about that.
Wow, you know, it's so funny. I kind of just like dismissed the whole thing, because I was just like, oh, that's, you know, like how you were saying with the stigma and everything. It's just like this like weird drug. But can you like educate me more about why it like saps the lipedema? Because that's something I'm really struggling with. I know we're going out of order, but Adrian, I have to talk to you.
From what I understand, there's a Facebook group for people who are on GLP-1 with lipedema, and they're saying that this is like one of the first things ever that's activating those zombie cells. Those fat cells are zombies. So even when you're carnivoring, even when you're ketoing, your body can't access them. They're encapsulated and they're acting zombie-like. They're dysfunctional, and somehow this peptide gets in there and makes it functional again and gets it moving. So, I mean, people are reporting that for the first time, lipedema is extinguishing and functioning more properly. So I personally don't know. I feel like I have a small case of lipedema because the spot where my weight just doesn't seem to leave is my legs and my tushy. And so I just wonder about that. And my legs do hurt as well. That's a sign. When people push on it, my legs hurt very bad. So we'll have to, I'm excited to see what comes of this. I don't remember if it was Courtney or someone else said there's like 52 different GLP peptides that are in clinical trials, and they're altering different things. And so it's just going to get better and better and better. And it's only just begun. But
Okay, that's great. That's great to know, because this is just like, it can be quite quite frustrating, just to bring it back to the diet. It's like, it can be so frustrating when you basically are like, okay, grains are not good for me. Vegetables are like giving me GI issues. And then you're like, okay, the fruit makes me bingy. And then you just keep pulling back. And then you find like you get to this like comfortable spot with, carnivore. You're like, okay, I can eat till I'm full. But then even just like, things like cream can throw us off. And so there's obviously some kind of bigger issue here for some of us. And like for me, like I've not been able to lose like any more weight. I lost the 70 pounds, and then it's like I just can't lose any more weight. I've been walking more, and so that was just really interesting to me. But Courtney, I want to ask you this. Where did your love of cooking come from? Did you grow up with a mama in the kitchen? Did you do it like just randomly? I'd love to know.
Yeah, I've thought about that, like, when I was a kid, like, if I have memories of my mom cooking, and not so much. Sorry, mom, if she's watching this. I remember her making essentially SOS, with I don't know, I don't wanna, like, curse on here, but that meal with, like, the toast, and I think she actually used, like, tuna and peas. So that's, like, my memory of my mom cooking. I remember baking and stuff with my grandma. My stepmom loves to cook. And my stepmom, actually, now that I'm saying this, like always had the Food Network channel on. So I grew up watching that. And then even like when I became an adult on my own, I would always watch it. Like my favorite thing, I think we even wrote about this in my book, actually. Like my favorite thing used to be like having a bottle of wine, watching the Food Network. Like that was my jam. And now I don't drink and I don't cook what they're cooking on the Food Network. So yeah, I've always had that love of cooking, always experimenting in the kitchen. And then I cooked on yachts for a while. And then once I stopped the yachts to be a stay-at-home mom, I started sharing my low-carb keto recipes online. And yeah, that's where I'm at today. It's just like another way to be like an artistic outlet, I guess. It just looks a lot different than it used to do. Now it's like we're hardly any ingredients we're working with, whereas before it was like onions, garlic, this, that, just to like have the base of a sauce. So yeah, it looks different.
So I'm wondering if you've heard anything from any parents who are transitioning their kids over, because I wish if your cookbook had been out just a few months earlier, I know I would have used it for my son when I transitioned him over to carnivore, which I think is new for you. Like last time you were on the show, I don't think he had done that yet. But he was very into all the processed food, the processed pizza, the chicken nuggets, all this kind of stuff. And so now he's all about like, I made a picanha just for him. Like it's in the oven. That's what he's going to have for dinner. He loves that now. He loves chuck roast, but it did not start out there. It was like, let me make some pizza for you. We just got to do it carnivore style. Let me make, chicken nuggets from scratch. All that kind of stuff. Have you heard from parents? Because I find that for my kid, that was key. And then I wouldn't have cared if he would have even just stayed eating that stuff. I would have been fine with it. But it just seemed like once we switched him over, just flipping that switch, and then it was like the love of the beef and the chicken, he loves chicken wings and that kind of stuff. It just came out, whereas he would never eat any of that stuff before. Have you heard from other parents with similar stories using your cookbook, or how do you feel about that? Or do you feed, what are the things that your kids like to eat?
Yeah, so I have heard messages like, "Oh, I'm trying to switch my kids over." And so they're using, the more like creative ones, not like the simple meats. Like the bacon cheeseburger, I feel like is a hit. Like no matter how you eat, even standard American diet, the bacon cheeseburger soup, like everybody loves it. The pizza. So yeah, I think just like making small changes. We didn't, change our kids' diet overnight because I was nervous. I'm like, wait, so should we not be giving them vegetables? Like it took us a while to not give them vegetables. And, don't call child services. If they want vegetables, they can have them, but nobody really wants vegetables. So my kids do have some fruit. They eat everything we eat, and they're pretty good. I mean, I will say like, they can't just eat burger patties all the time or even just steaks. Like I do need to get a little more creative. with their food. They just kind of like they burn out easily. So I, got to mix things up. I actually bought some tomato sauce today, Rouse, because I'm like, okay, they're like no more ground beef, Mom. But if I, pour some sauce on it, give it a little bit different of a flavor, then they won't complain. So yeah, they eat everything we eat. We try to do a variety of meats just to keep it interesting. And they do have some fruit. And then like once in a while, they do have some treats. Like I actually do have not carnivore ice cream in the house for them right now, just full transparency. We were supposed to go out just to get a scoop, and then that didn't happen. So I had to buy it at the store, and now it's in the house. So we just try and teach them proper nutrition and to listen to their body. Like you don't need to finish your ice cream. And later when you're bouncing off the walls, it's like, oh, this is probably why you guys are maniacs right now, because you had ice cream earlier, you had pizza at a kid's birthday party, or, so we just try and teach them about macros. Even like you cannot just go and binge on all the fruit we have, like pair it with the protein. But I think the more you do it, the more their taste buds change, and they want it and they appreciate it. And yeah, my little one, she'll be like, fat is flavor. So they love it. And yeah, so far we're doing okay.
Do your kids say terrible things? Like we were at a swim meet and my son goes, I'm going to beat him because he just ate McDonald's. And I was like, please don't say that. But I said to him, what if he ate burger patties? He might be okay, But here's what I want to know. So we know all about you. We know all about carnivore. What we don't know is, how did you meet your husband? How long have you guys been together? How did he propose? Are you guys keeping the love alive? Or are you like me and my husband? We're like, it's like, get it done and survive.
Oh my gosh. So, okay, we met in 2013. So I was working on a boat in the East Coast, and last minute the owner was going to be gone for the weekend, or like not come use the boat. So I'm like, all right, sweet, I'm out of here. So I flew home to California, and I don't know if my mom was there, honestly. So I came to my mom's house and I had people over, and one of my friends brought Jeff over, and we were going to go out that night, and everyone stayed all weekend, honestly. So Jeff was like on the couch with my other friends. This is when I drank. So we were partying all weekend. And I just remember thinking he was cool. Like I remember Sunday, we all went out to lunch, and I'm like, I want you to be my new best friend. Like he's very funny. So the whole weekend was very entertaining. And then I didn't think anything of it. I wasn't like, oh, I want to date you. It was just like, you're funny and awesome. 2 weeks later, my friend that brought him, we went to Spain, and I'm like, why don't we this is when we use Skype. I'm like, why don't we message Jeff on Skype and talk to him? So we talked, and we texted through Skype, that whole trip. And one of the things, and this is, I feel like he might've even said this in his vows, this is how he stuck in my head. He's like, okay, well, let me know, have you ever seen a baby pigeon? And I'm like, that's so weird. Who asked that? He actually asked that when I first met him. And have you guys ever seen a baby pigeon? They're not just out there walking around. So anyway, so he stuck with me. He planted that in my head and stuck with me. And yeah, the rest is history. We talked during that whole Spain trip. And then he came out a few months later. He came out to New York City to meet me for the weekend. And then later in that year, I moved back to California and got on a boat out there. Essentially, God, I feel like such a stalker. Essentially to be with him and date him. And yeah, so we were together ever since, and he proposed a couple years later. And now here we are, just surviving, not thriving. No, but it's good. He's a very entertaining person to be married to. Sorry, that was very long-winded.
No, I loved it. I wanted to know all about it. And I do think you should have him on your podcast more. I love how supportive he is. I love how funny you guys are together. And it's just cool to hear the story.
He's very fun. I wish he wasn't so private. He doesn't want clients to see him sharing his opinions on some controversial things. And yeah, he just doesn't have the desire to be on social media, but he does do my podcast sometimes, or will chime in on a video. I have to pull some teeth for him to do that, but it's always more fun. He's very fun.
Yeah, I love you and Jeff's dynamic. It kind of reminds me a little bit how my husband and I are. Just like, so you guys are so open-minded and you're just hilarious. I feel my husband's the same way. Like he'll come on a video with me, but he's very private as well. And he's just like, because he works at a school and he's like, he doesn't want to jeopardize his job. So I appreciate whenever Jeff does come on because I think you guys play off each other so well. We have some quick questions here. Bruce wanted to know what kind of boat. I'm guessing.
So I was on quite a few. They were all privately owned boats. So around like the ones I was on, like were around like 100 to 120 feet. I was on one for a few weeks that was like 200, but like with the big ones like that, it's just like so many crew. So like 120, that size was ideal. Specifically what kind of boat? I mean, a couple of them were Westports and yeah, privately owned. I did do a few that were chartered out, but mainly the ones I was on was like just like the family used it and they didn't always charter them out.
How long were you on the boats? Like at a time? Was it like several months at a time?
I lived on there full time. So for like 7
That's-
years and like would bounce around. So like if you get off a boat to go find a new one, you can like stay in a crew house in Fort Lauderdale, which woohoo. That was crazy in itself. But yeah, I mean like the reality show Below Deck. So that was starting as I was getting out of the industry, I guess halfway through when that started. So I know like some of those people too. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I kind of miss it.
So we have a couple of comments. So Carmen is agreeing with your husband. Yeah, where are all the baby pigeons anyway? That's true. I've never thought of that. Never seen a baby pigeon. And Charity wants you to know that they just ordered your book on Amazon. So that is fantastic. As Adrian said at the beginning of the show, you saw it, right, Adrian? There's been a price reduction, you said? I think that's what you said. So I'm going to have to go check that out and finally get my copy
and also
too.
yeah, you can check your online, check Barnes and Noble too. They are in like select stores. It's very far and few between from what I've seen. But yeah, there was one about 20 minutes from my house. We actually went this weekend to go sign that in Huntington Beach. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, on sale. It's like $24, I think, right now on Amazon. So snag it while you can.
Well, I have to bring this up because other people are bringing it up. Oh, awesome. That's great.
There it
is. I'm gonna have to get on there and get my copy. People are talking about what they're having for Thanksgiving. And when I was talking to my fellow lionesses about having you back on, I was like, oh, her cookbook came out and we got to have her the Tuesday before Thanksgiving because who better to talk carnivore Thanksgiving with than Courtney? So people are saying things like, turkey and prime rib for Thanksgiving until we go next door. And then I have to be careful. What are you having for Thanksgiving, Miss Luna?
So we're doing a turkey just to like appease my husband. I think turkey is so overrated. Like we're not eating turkey all year round, and I think for a reason, like nobody wants it. It's only good with gravy. So we are having turkey. I'm so happy about it. Gravy. I made a carnivore stuffing, which was a little lackluster. If you saw the short video, it is titled Mediocre Carnivore Stuffing because I didn't even want to share it, but people wanted to know like where I was at, like what I was working on with that because I hoped to have perfected it, but I didn't. But I'm going to add some sausage to it and gravy and hope for the best. What else are we doing? I did buy some pre-made mashed potatoes and green beans for the non-carnivores that are coming over. Like, I'm not even going to cook those. Like, you can have pre-bought. There we go. And we got pork ribs. So we're going to smoke pork ribs. I also got some filet mignons. I was going to do ribeye, but I don't know. I got some fillets so we can all, ration out a few slices each. And deviled eggs. And then my stepmom is keto, so she's going to bring a daikon radish casserole. So it's like au gratin potatoes, but with the daikon radish, which you would never even know it's not potato. So I might actually have a bite. I feel like I can have a bite of that, loosen up my reins a little bit. And I think that's it. I was going to make carnivore ice cream now that I'm rattling all this off. I need to get the stuff for that. Yeah, it seems like a lot more than I was hoping to do.
Do you have any upcoming fun projects coming up at all? Anything? Are you going to be on any documentaries or anything?
Not the documentaries, honestly. Like I feel like it was so funny. We were in Wyoming and like they were filming animal there, and everybody, not bitter, I'm not bitter at all, but everybody was filmed for it except for me. So that was kind of a bummer. I will not be on that. No documentaries. I do have an event coming up January 4th. If you guys are local-ish to Aliso Viejo, Southern California, at a Barnes and Noble, we're going to do a whole carnivore event there. And I think that's all I have going on, honestly. I don't think I have any like other fun big things booked or anything that I'm working on. I'm trying to like pull back and say no to things. It's very hard. I just want to like say yes to everything, any opportunity or project. But pulling back just to like chill out a little bit. I feel like I shot my wad with that book. Like I need to just relax for a little bit.
But you will be at Meatstock?
Oh, yes. How could I forget? And Scott was even, I saw his name in the chat. Yes. Okay. I will be at Meatstock. When is that?
It's in May. I wish I
April or
could
May?
come, but I can't.
Oh no. Yes, it's gonna be so fun. I went last year, or I guess was it this year? Earlier this year.
This
And
year.
it's amazing. Okay. Yeah. I don't know how I forgot that. I will not be doing Hack Your Health unless I have like a change of heart, but I know. Something just felt like a no for me. Love their whole thing, like totally supportive, but something like felt off. I don't know. It's like I have a premonition, so it's like a fear of flying. I don't know if it was that or maybe I don't know, maybe my kids just need me here. There was something that made me decline. So I'm going to have FOMO for sure because everyone goes there.
We're all going to be there. So I hope you change your mind.
We'll see. We'll play it by ear, but yeah, probably not.
Well, I want to shout out your YouTube channel for everybody, just in case they aren't already subscribed. Here is Courtney Luna's channel. I actually really love your channel. You have your podcast, then you show like what you eat, how you're working out, and I find it to be really motivating. And like, look at that before, guys! Wow. So everyone, please go check out Courtney Luna's channel. She's also on Instagram too. Let me.
And Ellie, can you bring up our channel just in case the people on hers have never been to our channel before?
Sure,
Our
let me go
super
grab them.
awesome channel. We've been around for about over a year, and we were streaming to each other's channels, and we just consolidated. So our channel is newish, but our program is not.
Yep, so here's our channel. You can come on over and subscribe to us if you want to participate with us. We have a meat-based lady come on every single week sharing their healing story. So if you feel like you need a community and you feel like you need, sometimes like the weeks are hard and you're just like, oh, I want to give up sometimes, but then you hear that healing story or just that motivation, come on over, subscribe to us. We'd love to have you.
Oh, one thing. Sorry, I'm looking in the chat. David, see, okay, I'm the worst. I have not slept. I didn't get good sleep last night, so my brain is not functioning properly. I'm not remembering everything I'm doing. So, David, right there, Carnivore Werewolf, he has the trucking documentary coming out December 1st on YouTube. So go subscribe. I made an appearance in that. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. I'm forgetting everything. But yeah, I'm excited to check that out.
Did
I cry?
Yeah.
While he interviewed me?
The cry question? Yeah.
Oh, I don't think so. No, I don't think I cried.
Oh, I did. There was this question and he said, just so you know, everybody cries. And I'm like, not me. And then he asked it and I was like,
Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah, it'll be a great one, guys. It's all about healing our truckers' bodies to keep them healthy while they are distributing our goods stuff.
Oops.
Cool. Did we
Well,
do the meaty
Hi,
wheel or
Karen.
not today?
I think it's time for us to roar.
Oh, okay. Courtney, did you roar in the last one?
Okay, now that you say that, it sounds familiar. I must have.
I'm pretty sure she roared. Yeah.
Well, we love to do this very weird thing where at the end we roar. And if you would like to roar, please put it in the chat. I'm going to count us down. 3, 2, 1.
Roar. Yes.
I'm going to pop all those up. We love seeing your roars because it means you made it to the end and that you support our channel and obviously Courtney's channel as well. And if you're watching the replay and you made it this far, please write down the comments roar so we can personally thank you for watching till the end, because we know that you're awesome.
Well, everyone.
Karen, I didn't know
I
that.
just want-
That's so cool.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
Karen was on our show last week. Oh, and she trucked for 6 years with her husband. Wow, that's awesome. Way before I was carnivore. He's carnivore now too. That's awesome, Karen. So Courtney, thanks so much for coming on for a repeat performance. We appreciate you so much. And from all of us here at Lioness Lifestyle Live, thank you so much to all of you for being with us tonight. Please join us next week, which it'll be Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, aka Courtney and I's time zone, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we will be featuring another awesome guest. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.